Welcome back. Now, creating content for your website might seem like a big challenge. Maybe you're not a natural writer, or perhaps you aren't sure what content you should be creating. In this module, we're going to see how to develop a content strategy. Having a content strategy means deliberately using content to help you reach your business goals. Without a content strategy, you could be spending a lot of time writing for your website, but you might not see the results that you want. So we're going to look at all the different types of content that you can create. Now we'll break down the writing process to make it easy, and we'll look at how to plan out your content on an editorial calendar. Getting your content right makes a huge difference to your search engine optimization and conversion rate. Okay, let's get started. Now, there are several different types of content that you can create for your website. So one way to look at this is that you need to create content for different user intents. And we covered user intent back in module 2. Let's say you provide bookkeeping services for small businesses and someone is ready to hire you. Well, you'll need a detailed page explaining what you offer, how much it costs, and how to hire you or book a consultation. This is transactional content. But what if someone isn't quite ready to hire you yet? Maybe they need to know what to look for when hiring a bookkeeper. So you could create some informational content on that topic. But here's the thing. Creating informational content is one of the most overlooked SEO tactics by small businesses. Now, it's natural to talk about your products and it's easy to forget the earlier stages of the buying cycle. And let's not forget, drawing people in at the informational stage can bring in a lot of traffic that's relevant to your products and services, and all doing so while building trust. Now, what about someone who's heard of you from a friend? Well, they'll probably search online for your name or the name of your business, and this means you need navigational content like your homepage or About Us page that introduces people to your business. So that's one way of looking at content. You can divide your content up by user intent, and each piece of content should target a specific search intent. That means that you'll have some transactional content, some informational content, and some navigational content. Here's another way of looking at content. You can divide it into two groups, newsworthy and evergreen. Newsworthy content is about something topical, so that could be an informational piece about changes in your industry. Or it could be an article about a new service that you're offering at a discount for a limited time only. Newsworthy content might only be relevant for a few weeks or even days before going out of date. Then the other type of content is evergreen. This type of content doesn't go out of date nearly as fast. So this is content that will be relevant for months or years to come, like how to choose a bookkeeper or when do you need to hire a bookkeeper. While you might only update that type of content every few years because it changes less often, search engines like Google will deliver a steady flow of organic traffic month on month. Now, most websites have a mix of evergreen and newsworthy content, and it's up to you to find the right mix for your business within your industry. For example, if you're a social media consultant, you might have a lot of newsworthy articles about recent updates. But if you run a home decorating business, then you might focus on evergreen content. That's because people looking to hire you for home decorating will want useful, practical tips rather than the latest industry news. Now, when it comes to satisfying user intent, you want to think carefully about what people are looking for when they search for a particular keyword. And that's what we're going to cover in the next lesson. Like I mentioned in the last lesson, you can divide your content by user intent. Now, user intent is also called search intent. It's just a way of talking about what people expect when they're searching for something. So if I search for flowers same-day delivery, then I want to find some flowers that I can buy with the same-day delivery. So that's a transactional intent. I'm planning to buy some flowers and I probably have my credit card ready. Now, when you choose keywords, it's important to figure out the user intent behind them. Now, sometimes this might seem obvious to you, but it's always a good idea to check. So the easiest way to check user intent is simply to go to Google and type in the search term. Let's say you want to target the keyword beautiful flowers, and you're planning to use it on a transactional page with one of your most expensive bunches of flowers. Well, if you type in beautiful flowers into Google, you'll see that there's lots of informational articles that come up. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll see these articles have a couple of things in common. They're often about the most beautiful flowers in the world, but they also contain a lot of images. So that isn't a good keyword to choose for a transactional page. However, it could make a good keyword for an informational list about the world's most beautiful flowers. Now, if your content doesn't satisfy the user intent for a keyword, then it's going to be hard to rank for that keyword. Okay, there's a flower company called Beautiful Flowers in New York, but it only ranks 12th for the keyword beautiful flowers. It's their company name, but they don't rank top for it because most people typing in the keyword have an informational intent, not a navigational intent. Now, another effortless way to identify a keyword's intent is to check the organic results report for a given keyword within SE Ranking's keyword research tool. Now, I've already described the mechanics in lessons 3.3, which is about competitor keyword research. So if you need a reminder, check it out. The report shows websites ranking for specific keywords, and you can quickly check them to identify search intent. It's a great alternative to Google's SERPs because this report showcases accurate results for any location and it's free from personalization. So now that we've seen why user intent matters, let's take a look at the content creation process. In the previous module, we saw how to work keywords into your content. But how do you or your team actually write that content? Well, the reason a lot of small business owners struggle with content creation is because they don't understand the writing process. So in this lesson, we're going to look at the 3 stages of content creation. They are pre-writing, writing, and editing. And we'll also check how the new content tool from SE Ranking can help you go through these stages and without putting in too much effort. Let's start with pre-writing. This is everything that you do before you write your first draft. Now, you've probably already done some work towards this stage already. When you came up with keywords, you probably started to think about the topic and even the title of your piece of content. So maybe it's already starting to take shape in your mind. Now, pre-writing involves coming up with an idea, researching it, and planning your content. One great way to speed up the researching and planning process is to see what other content is ranking for your keyword. Just type your keyword into Google and take a look at the top 5 results. You'll see what other authors write about, how long the texts are, and what format and style they follow. Another way to research competitors' content is to analyze the Organic Competitors tab within SE Ranking's content editor. To do this, go to the Content Marketing module in the top navigation bar and select Content Editor. Now you can click the New Article button and fill out the form. Remember, enter the primary keyword for your topic, choose the country, name your article and click the Create Article button. Once the analysis is complete, you'll be transferred to the Brief Settings section with the Organic Competitors table coming first. You'll see 10 top-ranked organic competitors for your search term, their backlink metrics, and a word count. Now, a simple Google search won't show you all that, right? After clicking on a competitor, you'll be redirected to their page where you can read their content and review any questions that they've answered. Go through the list of competitors and check their relevancy for your topic. Additionally, you probably don't need Wikipedia or Quora in your list, so you can disable websites which are less relevant as competitors. Now, I'm not suggesting that you simply copy these results, but you can use them to think about what sections you might need in your content. maybe several of the results cover similar ideas or have similar subheadings, for instance. Another option is to do the complete opposite and look for a unique angle that no one else has covered. Of course, these aren't hard and fast rules that you should always follow. Use your own judgment about how to create the best content you can. Just make sure it will satisfy the user intent. Now that you know which direction to move, you should decide on the technical parameters for your article. You can calculate the optimal content length yourself, but it's going to take some time. Or you could use the content parameters section under the brief settings of the content editor tool. Here you'll immediately see the recommended number of words and characters, plus the number of headings, paragraphs, and images. These parameters are based on the average values from your organic competitors. Now, if you feel like some of these parameters won't work for you, then you can just change them. Okay, next it's keywords. Now in Module 3, I've already talked about keyword research, so you may have already put together a list of terms that you want to use. So you can add them in the terms to use section and supplement them with keyword recommendations based on the analyzed competitors. Each suggested keyword comes with various metrics to help you evaluate its potential performance. Additionally, you can add NLP keywords, which are similar meaning words and phrases used by your competitors to help make your text more relevant. Finally, when all the research is done, it's time to draw up an outline for your text. Now, you could use good old-fashioned Google Docs to help with the structure, and I guess that's kind of like the classical way, but a more convenient alternative is to use the content structure section within Content Editor. Here, you'll see all the titles that your competitors are using in their content, and you can even add them to your structure as reference points with just one click, or create new headings from scratch. You can leave a comment to share your ideas on improving the titles or note whatever you think is important. Now, once you have a clear plan of what you're going to write, then it's time to start the writing stage of content creation. So you might want to do this yourself, or you might pass your outline to a copywriter or someone else on your team. Now, providing access to the outline that you've used in Content Editor is super easy. You just click the share button, enable access to the article, and then send it to whoever you want. That person will be able to write and edit the article, but not the brief. Okay, let's see how this tool helps you work with text. The first thing you can do is paste the outline that you created earlier, and having a plan in front of your eyes makes it easier to write. While you can change it as you write, you'll always have a chance to check the original outline in the dedicated tab in the right sidebar. Now, you can work on the text directly in the editor and then insert a written article to the content editor. If you choose to work directly in the content editor as you write, you'll see how well you've fulfilled the requirements specified in your brief in real time. The optimization tab will show you the current length of your article and how many words, paragraphs, and images you still need to add. Now, a little bit below, you'll see all the keywords that you can use in the article with their current and planned counts and tags. The tool will even advise when you need to add keywords to the heading or format them in bold. Now, the quality tab will highlight all grammatical and punctuation mistakes, so you can fix them that way. Here, you'll also be able to see if your text has any problems with stop words. Now, stop words are the ones that don't really add much meaning to the sentence and can be easily removed. You'll also see a readability score based on the Flesch Reading Ease test. If you're stuck at some point and can't write anything, the AI rewriter feature can rephrase up to 600 characters at a time, but no more than 2,000 characters per article. Okay, when the first draft is finished, you can move on to the next stage, editing. Now, editing helps turn a good content piece into a great one, and my advice is to never cut back on editing. Well, if you want your content to meet top quality standards, that is. Editing often involves the draft being discussed by several people. So your copywriter might send it back to you for edits, or you might get feedback from other members in the team. If you decide to use the content editor, you can skip the sending document part because several people can edit one article together through the share feature described before. Now, the tool's optimization, quality, and outline tabs will come in handy during this part as well. For example, if you hire a copywriter, you can use the tool to see how they've coped with the task, whether they've structured the text following your requirements, and whether they've added the keywords to the brief the right number of times. Now, the editing stage is also a great chance to make sure your target keywords are appearing in the right places in your content. Just head back to Module 4 if you need a refresher on that. But remember, keywords should always flow naturally within your text. And their quantity, that's keyword quantity, doesn't always mean that you'll have quality content. If you notice that your text is overloaded with keywords, which might harm your content performance, then you'll want to rephrase some of the parts. Again, AI Rewriter can help here. And you may want to add internal links at this stage too. Now, editing is also about text quality. Professional editors remove errors, make changes to improve text flow, and enhance content language and style. If you don't have anyone to help edit, the Content Editor Quality tab is what you need. It has a built-in spell checker and shows all the grammatical and punctuation mistakes that you'll want to fix. In addition, it has a readability scale and notifies you when the amount of stop words in your text exceeds 60%. Now, editing doesn't take place in just one step. So be prepared for several rounds of editing and proofreading before you get the final version of your content piece. Now, you may also like to ask a topic expert to check how credible your statements are and ensure that you're not misleading readers. And remember, you should write your content for people first. This way, your SEO efforts will be more successful and your content will have a better chance of ranking at the top of search engines.